Hi, my name is Tony Dong. Trump Financial Disclosure details income and finances. The Office of Government Ethics (OGE) released President Trump's financial disclosure form Friday, revealing assets of his trust and details of post-election finances. The 98-page release, which covers the period from January 2016 through this spring, came shortly after 5 p.m. In the release, Mr. Trump outlines the financial health of the business assets he placed into a trust when he took office. The report shows Mr. Trump resigned from more than 500 positions, many of them a day before his inauguration as president. He listed at least $315 million in liabilities, about the same as in a report he filed last year. Among those liabilities is $80,175 million in mortgages and loans from Deutsche Bank. The documents have added importance because Mr. Trump isn't following the long tradition of presidential candidates and office holding of making public his tax returns. Those returns provide more complete financial information than the personal financial disclosures, which only include broad ranges for income and debts. The president's golf courses have been very lucrative, especially Trump National Doyle, in Miami, which brought in $115,865,590. The disclosure also says that Mr. Trump listed $37,251,635 in resort-related revenue from Mar-a-Lago and $19,752,500 in golf-related revenue from Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. Mar-a-Lago's initiation fee doubled after Mr. Trump was elected from $100,000 to $200,000 effective on January 1, 2017. Mr. Trump's income from his Mar-a-Lago resort increased by $7.4 million over the past year. Over the same length of time beginning in January 2015, Mr. Trump reported $29.8 million in revenue from the club. His income from his course in New Jersey slightly decreased from the $20.6 million reported last year. Mr. Trump declared $19,666,129 in hotel-related revenue from the Washington, D.C. Trump International Hotel, which was opened in mid-September 2016. The hotel is the subject of lawsuits that charge that the hotel, among other business interests, is a violation of the Emoluments Clause, which is intended to prevent foreign governments from influencing government officials with improper presents or payments. His Washington area golf club in Potomac Falls, Virginia, brought in $17,508,270 in golf-related revenue. The president also disclosed between $1 million and $5 million in royalties from his book, Crippled America, which was published in 2015, the year he announced his presidential campaign. One of the odder entries was this: his pension from the Screen Actors Guild. This line item also appeared on his last financial disclosure, paying $84,000 presumably from his former job as the host of The Apprentice. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer said in a statement, President Trump welcomed the opportunity to voluntarily file his personal financial disclosure form. While this filing is voluntary as no report was due until May 2018, it has been certified by the Office of Government Ethics pursuant to its normal procedures. This is a developing story. Thank you for watching. For the follow-up, subscribe to the channel yourself here. Alabama's one-sided Cuban deal made by executive order. If we do not get the deal we want, and the deal that people living in Cuba and here deserve, Trump said in a speech in Miami just before Election Day. The NSC memo obtained by The Hill stated that reverting back to the pre-2014 policy on Cuba would have shown a strong commitment to human rights and democracy and pleased anti-Castro interest groups, but would have also come with a number of risks. Global adversaries, such as Iran, Russia and China, would likely develop an even stronger footing in Cuba if ties with the island were severed. The NSC document says, "I am cancelling the last administration's completely one-sided deal with Cuba," Trump said. "The previous administration's easing of restrictions on travel and trade does not help the Cuban people," he continued. "They only enrich the Cuban regime. But the changes leave the cornerstones of Obama's policy in place. It maintains formal diplomatic relations with Cuba and does not restore the wet foot, dry foot policy." It's not surprising that the Trump administration would consider a wide range of options before setting its Cuba policy. White Houses typically do so at the staff level before making a recommendation to the president. But the memo sheds new light on the Trump administration's decision-making process when it comes to Cuba and the road that was not taken. Trump said repeatedly during his 2016 campaign he was willing to roll back the opening with Cuba. He drove home the point in South Florida, where an influential group of anti-Castro Cuban Americans are a key Republican voting bloc. Trump won Florida in the general election. "We will cancel Obama's one-sided Cuban deal made by executive order if we do not get the deal we want, and the deal that people living in Cuba and here deserve," Trump said in a speech in Miami just before Election Day. The NSC memo obtained by The Hill stated that reverting back to the pre-2014 policy on Cuba would have shown a strong commitment to human rights and democracy and pleased anti-Castro interest groups, but would have also come with a number of risks. Global adversaries, such as Iran, Russia and China, would likely develop an even stronger footing in Cuba if ties with the island were severed, the NSC document says. The memo warned that cutting off relations would have eliminated economic and political leverage over Cuba to extract reforms, damaged U.S. objectives in Latin America, hurt U.S. businesses that invested in Cuba, and jeopardized collaboration with Cuban authorities on national security issues, including fugitives and migration. Rolling back parts of the Cuba policy instead would deliver on Trump's commitments while retaining leverage over Cuba, the memo said. Such an approach would also be less likely to elicit pushback from the business community and regional partners, the memo stated, although some opposition was expected. "You can't put the genie back in the bottle 100%, a senior White House official told reporters on Thursday. "It's not that as opposed to any deal with Cuba. As opposed to a bad deal with Cuba." Supporters of Obama's policy say the changes Trump did approve could still hurt burgeoning collaboration between U.S. and Cuban law enforcement agencies on a variety of security and migration issues. Since wet foot, dry foot ended, the flow of Cuban migrants to American shores has slowed to a trickle, and Cubans entering the U.S. illegally can be sent back to their home country. Trump's policy changes do not directly affect those areas, but some U.S. officials have privately expressed concern it could have a chilling effect on cooperation with Cuban authorities. Law enforcement agencies have secured concessions from Cuba to accept the return of Cuban nationals with criminal convictions, something Havana did not allow under the previous rules. Cuban officials have also warned that changes to the U.S. relationship could lead them to curtail information sharing on drug trafficking and cybercrime. Thank you for watching. For the follow-up, subscribe to the channel yourself here.